Hi and welcome. As we enter the winter months, we need to start thinking of how we're going to look after our plants. We need to make sure that they get through the cold season happy and thriving. So I'm just going to go over a few things that will help with this. First thing I'll cover is light. In winter, light levels are lower, so you can bring plants out of the dark corners to a brighter location. During the darker months when the sunlight is rare, your plants need to be able to get as much light as possible. They need light more than anything else in the winter. Try to find a room where they're going to get as much light as possible. If you're not sure whether your plant is getting enough light, there's a couple of things that you can look for. Whether they're leaning more excessively towards the sun, got leggy growth, or that the leaves are much smaller and pale. The thing that you can do is clean your plant's leaves. I wipe all the leaves with these dusting gloves, and I also use this leaf shine spray, which gives it a really good shine and doesn't harm the plants. With light being in short supply, it's important to make sure your plants can take advantage of the little light that's available. During the summer months, a little dust may actually protect some of your plants if they're getting too much light, but as the light is reduced during the winter months, giving them a wipe will help with the photosynthesis. Whilst most houseplants may not go dormant, their growth may slow during the winter. This can sometimes be mistaken for dormancy, but in reality your plants is just conserving energy, since there is less daylight this time of the year. If your plants are visibly leaning towards the window, gradually rotate them every few days to help them straighten out. One other thing that will help is to ensure that your windows are cleaned inside and out, and that will allow as much light through as possible. You can also consider adding supplemental light into your space with a grow light. Winter sun can still be intense for some plants, so just be mindful of this. Houseplants can naturally drop some of their leaves in autumn and winter to compensate for the lack of light and in turn the lack of food. If your plant grew in the warmer months but now it looks like it's doing the opposite, don't worry, it's just adjusting to the changes in the season. If your plant is overgrown, feel free to trim off a few older leaves, as this can help prevent further leaf loss, plus it keeps your plant looking fuller and bushier. Keep plants away from cold drafts and open windows or doors, and away from radiators and fireplaces. Sudden temperature changes can cause leaves to brown or drop. Most houseplants, especially the tropical varieties, are extremely sensitive to cold air. To help your houseplants survive, it's important to protect them from the cold air by sealing up your windows and doors as much as possible. This will help to prevent cold drafts and help your plant to stay as warm as possible. If you keep your houseplants near outside doors or on windowsills in the warmer months, you may want to move them into rooms where they'll be better protected from the cold air. As well as keeping your houseplants warm, you'll also need to prevent them from being too warm. Move them away from heat sources such as fireplaces, radiators, as the blasts of warmer air from these sources can also damage your plant as cold air can. As you can maybe see, I have quite a lot on the hearth and around the fireplace. These will all be found in new homes for the winter months, and I hope to cover this in a future video. Some plants are more sensitive to the cold than others, but if you're feeling the chill, chances are your plants are too. Houseplants grow less in the winter, so they need less water. Water when the top 2 inches of the soil feels dry, which could be every 2 to 3 weeks. Avoid overwatering and make sure your plants aren't sitting in water, as this can lead to root rot, which is fatal for your plants. Avoid using cold water when watering your plants, as this can shock their roots. The growth of your houseplants will slow down in the winter as a result of low light conditions, and the lack of light leads to the lack of growth. If your plants are not growing as much, they're not going to need as much water or fertiliser. We tend to feel more sleepy in winter, and plants do too. This can be due to the shorter days and less sun. Many plants even go into a state of dormancy or semi-dormancy in the winter months. Because your plants are doing everything at a much slower pace in the winter, they won't benefit at this time from added nutrients fertiliser provides. Give your plants a break until the springtime. Whilst you're dusting and cleaning your leaves, it's the ideal opportunity to check your plants for pests. Make sure that there's none hiding. If they are, make sure you get rid of them to prevent them from thriving throughout the winter. You don't want them to spread across your whole collection. Unless you really have to, it's best to wait until the spring or the summer to repot your houseplants. The winter is already a stressful time for plants, and repotting can cause extra stress, and they won't be able to get the light, humidity or heat that they need to recover and adjust to their new pot. One of the biggest problems houseplants come up against in the winter is the low humidity levels. Humidity levels in heated homes can drop down to as low as 10%, and most prefer humidity levels between 60 and 70. If you have a humidifier, it's a good idea to keep it going in the same room as your plants to help raise the humidity levels and give your plants what they need. I use the one shown downstairs and I've also got a small one upstairs. I'll put links in the description for both. Alternatively, if you don't have a humidifier, you can cluster your plants together in the most humid room of your house. These tend to be the bathroom or the kitchen. Houseplants naturally release water from their leaves when transpiring, so putting them all together will help to make good use of this additional moisture. I've not done this, but you can also use a large tray filled with pebbles and water and place the plants on top of the stones. This will create additional humidity around your plants and help to keep them alive during the winter. One thing I have become to rely on is the soil moisture meter. I use this to test all my plants. I place it into the soil 3 times in different locations to make sure that I get an accurate reading. As you can see, it's reading dry. I'm going to water the plant and then I'll show you the reading again after watering. It's now reading moist and I'm happy with that. And the other item is the hygrometer, which is perfect that it shows the humidity and the temperature levels. I hope you've enjoyed seeing some of the plants today and found the tips that I've given useful. If you have, please leave a like. If you haven't already done so, please check out my other videos on the channel, subscribe, and then YouTube will let you know when I next upload a video. Take care and I'll see you soon.